I do realize how idiotic it is to open my video by telling you to hold up and click away if you haven't played the game yet. But I sincerely think that Slay the Princess is one of those rare few games where knowing the nature of the game is robbing yourself of the playing of the game. So I would highly recommend that you take my word for it and the other 97% of 8,500 overwhelmingly positive reviews that think Slay the Princess claps ass and just play it. Fully voice acted, very well written, and consistently subverts expectations without being snide or obnoxious. Even if you are cautious about it, wishlist it for now and pick it up on a fat sale down the road, but do yourself a favor. Don't look up or watch any external resources about the game until you have rolled credits. And yes, that does include this video. Slay the Princess is a lot more than the sum of its parts and well worth your time, and you can always watch the rest of the video when you beat the game. So I'm going to assume that everyone still here has played the game before, and if you haven't played the game before and you're still watching, shame on you. I wouldn't worry about it though, I'm exactly the same kind of person. Slay the Princess, for the uninitiated that did not heed my warnings, is a fully voice-acted visual novel, which is something I am extraordinarily thankful for. This game would have been infinitely worse off were it not for the phenomenal voice work of Nicole Goodnight, who plays the princess, and my fucking man, Jonathan Sims from the Magnus Archives, who voices every other fucking character and somehow manages to make them all distinct and fun and engaging. The game premise is pretty simple though, and as a matter of fact, it's so simple that I can let Jonathan Sims explain it to you in a few short sentences.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
That's the game. There's a princess in a cabin and you have to slay her. Good luck, buddy. I adore this premise, especially in the hands of such capable writers, because in a game that only involves you and one other person you get to meet face to face, the world ending doesn't actually seem like all that much of a consequence. I don't know the world. I don't know the people in it. I can't see them, and I won't, but as soon as I take the knife and go down those steps, I do see the princess, and immediately I don't want to listen to the narrator anymore. Maybe it's just something about British people telling me to follow their scripts.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Fuck you, Kevin Brighting. I'm a domestic terrorist. But I just don't see why I have to kill her. He has to have a reason he wants me to slay the princess, right? But who is he? The narrator? What the fuck does that mean? And what is the reason he wants me to slay her? Why can't he tell me? Maybe I'm crazy for this, but even if you call me a hero and shove me down a set of stairs with a knife, I'm not particularly inclined to kill someone I know nothing about on the whims of a faceless voice saying, "Just trust me, bro." And because of my hesitation, I very quickly learned some of the rules of this game. Despite my hesitance to listen to the narrator and even cutting off the princess's hand to get her out of the shackle, to which she barely reacts, the narrator wasn't having it with me trying to get her out of here.
Thank you. Now let's get out of here.
No, we won't have any of that. The stakes are too high. You can't just let her escape into the world. No, I just can't let her escape into the world. As the princess approaches the bottom stair, your body steps forward and raises the blade. Wait, this isn't fair. You can't just do that. Watch me. Your body lunges forward to sink the blade into her back, but the princess swiftly moves out of the way before you can connect. Stop it! Stop resisting me! I am trying to get you out of here alive.
You're doing your best to help me, aren't you? I can see the conflict in your eyes.
She steps forward and pries the blade from your rigid hands, and then she slits your throat with an almost clinical ease. This is the end, isn't it? I'm afraid it is. Everything goes dark, and you die. I hope it was worth it.
Well now, that didn't go as well as it could have. Indecision fucked me, and here we are again at the start of the forest, not quite dead, with a narrator seemingly none the wiser to our reincarnation and the very same objective. slay the princess. Things are a bit different this time, and this is where the game started to get its hooks into me. Not with the reincarnation bit, that's kind of played out, but the fact that this time we have an uninvited guest in our heads. The voice of the skeptic. The skeptic is, as his title claims, always wary and always questioning. He also says wink out loud. I fucking love him.
Yes, don't believe a word she says. Just go in, take the knife, and do what you're supposed to. Wink. Did you just say wink out loud? No, I didn't. Wink. Just ignore this clown and focus on the princess.
In the cabin, the interior has changed. It's more like a castle than a cabin, and there's a mirror on the wall this time. The narrator says, at least, that he doesn't see it, and when we go to touch it, it disappears. We'll swing back to that. Seeing as I very quickly learned that I cannot trust the narrator to not try and force my hand, I decided to leave the blade, but the skeptic convinces me otherwise.
Call it a reflex. We take the knife as we go.
And all that's left is the princess. She's different this time. Cooler, colder, and significantly more chained up. Unless she's particularly well versed in being alive without her head attached to her body, there won't be any cutting her out this time around. Off to the side of her is an empty chain. She says I could try it on. I'm curious and kind of an asshole, so simply because the narrator tells me not to, I inspect it, and, well...
Fine. As you hoist the shackle, its heft shifts within your grasp, as if pulled by some odd magnetism. Before you can so much as blink, it practically leaps from your hands, snapping around your neck. And, as if your situation weren't bad enough, the same magnetism repels your blade, which is flung from your hand and sent skittering across the floor of the basement.
Welcome to the ending of Indecision, one where no one really wins, and we both just sit there in silence forever. I'm not kidding. We seemingly can't starve or die of anything we don't inflict on ourselves or one another, and so much time passes that the cabin quite literally degrades around us, with the ice-cold princess simply sitting there. She isn't a fan of small talk. Then this happens.
So this is the outside world. It's cold.
The princess is gone, and so is the narrator, and all that's left is the voices in our head and a mirror. With nothing else left to do, we walk up to the mirror and the voices disappear. All that's left is what's in the reflection. Something dark, foreign, skinny, tall, covered in feathers, and definitely not human. It's us. If you are still watching and have yet to play the game at this juncture, I would very much enjoy if you didn't spoil yourself. Pause here, come back later. Nothing I have to say about the game is worth ruining your chance to experience it for yourself. This is your final warning. Do your job. Slay the princess. With the knowledge that we aren't human, but aren't quite far from it, we walk down the only path before us, only to see not a cabin, but the princess, or at least something that certainly looks like her. She, whatever she is like a sphinx with 100 arms, speaking in riddles, in circles, in abstracts. But in the absence of the narrator, she is our only touchstone to who and what and where we are. This is the long quiet, an empty lot out of reach of the rest of the worlds that we do not yet know. This thing has absorbed the princess and gives us a directive.
Bring me more perspectives so that I may be whole, and perhaps then we will know our freedom.
Die and reincarnate in those other worlds to bring her perspectives. More choices, more cabins, more princesses. She wants us to make decisions so she can become one with the princesses we kill, we save, we wait out the end of time with. She wants to become whole, and that's something only we can do, something only we can bring her. And just like that, the real game begins.
She asks that I tell you to remember her. You won't.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is...
At this point, I was well and truly decided. Whatever the narrator said, I didn't trust him, not even a wink.
Wink.
My very first interactions with him ended in betrayal, with him taking over my body in an attempt to kill someone I was rather clear that I didn't want to kill. And so now, armed with the knowledge that we are in search of perspectives to bring back to the lady with 400 hands, I decided not to bring the knife. I think it helps that now, having seen into the mirror and being, frankly, a bit unsettled by what stared back, I felt a pang of guilt for debating slaying the princess at all. She saw us, whatever we are, and didn't bat an eye at our appearance, only at the knife we had in our hands. The mere decision not to bring the knife down makes the princess into an immediately much less confident version of herself. She's meek.
Don't be a stranger. It's been so long since I've had any visitors. Please, come downstairs.
She's also honest to a fault, because when pressed, she realizes that she doesn't know her name or her past.
I'm sorry, I've been down here so long, I guess I've just forgotten. I must have a name, though. Everyone has a name.
Okay, that's weird.
The rest of this first cycle can only go so far without getting her out of the chains, but the door gets slammed in our faces, so she just decides to bite her fucking arm off.
If I could just get out of these chains, I know we could force our way out of here together.
She barely hesitates before raising her arm to her mouth, her teeth tearing through her limb with the determination of a trapped wolf.
Gross. Then, the knife that I so carefully avoided before gets tossed down the stairs anyways, almost as if there's an otherworldly thing that's trying to force conflict between us and the princess. We use this to get her arm out of the chains. Again, fucking gross. She doesn't seem to give a shit though. She just seems happy that we're helping her. And yet again, the narrator tries to take us over and fucking kill her, the bastard.
No, we won't have any of that. The stakes are too high. You can't, as the princess approaches the bot. Wait, this isn't Watch Me.
What are you doing?
We manage to warn her, and the narrator fights with us, and it all culminates in the princess taking things into her own hands, taking the knife into her own hands, and, well...
I'm sorry.
She doesn't know how to use a knife, does she? Apparently not, though it doesn't matter how sloppy her knife work is, does it? A stab wound is still a stab wound, and it won't be long before you bleed out.
I'm so sorry.
This is where I unknowingly entered my absolute favorite path in the game. The path of the simp, or the smitten. There's a new voice in our head, the fucking silliest voice, and he sure is blindly optimistic.
But he is a villain. He made our beloved brutally take our life last time. He's trying to keep us apart, but he won't be able to withstand the power of our love.
The voice Jonathan Sims does is so over the top and silly because I cannot think for a second that the writers who are capable of a game of this caliber are not also well aware that they've made what we will discover to be essentially a Discord moderator persona, and the princess is the idealized Discord mod wife. I'm single because modern Western women just don't understand my traditional values. The perfect wife for me is a woman that understands her place in the household, and that's in the kitchen. Oh, fuck me. The princess this time around plays into that idea though, the traditional role of a princess in a fairy tale, which is arguably a mirror. This version of the princess would be using #tradwife on Instagram, talking about how her blue-collar man comes home to a 12-pack of Guinness and a blowjob because she's such a good wife. Everything she does though, everything she says, she just doesn't care. She molds herself to our desires, or at least what she thinks our desires are, and even when pressed, she doesn't know what she would do if she were free.
That's okay. You were just doing your best, and that's all that matters.
She hasn't thought that far. She apparently just wants to be with us, which is cute, I guess, in a really weird, codependent kind of way. This version of the princess is so prim and proper and dainty that her wrist just slips out of the fucking chains. There's no need for violence with our beloved. It's kind of simple for the rest of this path. It's a boring kind of easy, with the narrator being super passive-aggressive because, with the smitten and the power of love, all things are made simple. Seriously though, the narrator has zero power this time, and every roadblock in our way is just gone in a second, including the final door to the outside. The narrator disappears and the cabin disappears, and we're happy for about a second. The princess becomes cold. And just like that, the hands of our friend that desires to send us out collect her. Another perspective for the collective. Once again, with nothing left to do but move forward, we look into the mirror and see ourselves, only this time, we've grown. In talking beyond the mirror with the Princess of 1,000 Hands, she reveals that there is an endpoint to this. At some point, we will have brought her enough perspectives that she will know what she is and in turn what we are. She also tells us what exactly these princesses we keep meeting are.
The vessels are shaped by memories of you, but their impulses are drawn to the edge of the long quiet. To them, you are a gate to something more, and any hurt you've caused them is understood as a fair price for freedom. But they are only thoughts and perspectives. They are not me. The wounds they've suffered carve texture around my heart. Without them, I would be as I was before. I would be alone and without sensation. I could not feel the joy of having you by my side, for I would not know your absence.
This explanation is what convinced me to do the next path, a dangerous path and frankly a kind of fucked up one. So she sends us back, and this time I've decided to slay the princess. And that's where I'm going to cut our walkthrough short for a moment and do something I don't ever really do. I lied. Earlier was not my final spoiler warning for you. This is. I'm repeating myself because beyond this point, I'm going to be discussing the very end of the game. And if you still haven't played the game but have made it this far in the video, I'm willing to risk losing the viewer retention stat and implore you, go play the game yourself. There is a lot around the corner of this spoiler warning that is much, much better as a personal experience than through the lens of my dumbass. And I wouldn't want to rob you of it, especially when the choices that you make have the ability to end up in a much different place than I did. Assuming that everyone from this point onwards has either beaten the game or is unconvinced to go play it, let's move along. Slaying the princess went very poorly for me. I wanted to see if I could speedrun it and just kind of stabbed her and she died and that was the end. She's just dead there. And then we go upstairs and having followed the narrator's plans to a T, he's happy with us. And his reward for us is to tell us that we are happy too, sitting in the corner of the cabin forever. This is the future he has planned for us. This
is the beginning of eternity. Your reward. This is what's best for everyone. Trust me.
This furthered my need to ignore him. Success to him means unending bullshit for us and death for the princess. Whatever the narrator is, he seems like a coward, and he's all too ready to sacrifice us for his own purposes. I didn't sit in the corner forever like he wanted, because whatever the 1,000-hand princess is, steps into our reality from beyond the void.
You simply exist. Happy. Forever.
You have already committed to my completion. You cannot go further astray.
I'm not one to argue with that, so we stab ourselves in the chest and move on. This is where I'm going to speed us ahead. Strap in because we are going to hurtle towards the end now. It's the most exciting part after all, isn't it? This is how the game works, or at least in discovering these loops, secrets, and new paths, perspectives for the princess with many hands, we also find voices of ourselves. The voice of the cold, an unfeeling shithead of a persona that I actually defied the will of, allowing this ghost version of the princess we slayed in the first chapter to possess me in order to walk up the stairs and out of the cabin, only for her to join the many hands in the long quiet.
I'm out. You actually freed me, didn't you? I'm outside. Thanks for giving me a second chance, killer.
Don't mention it.
I think this is where I'm meant to be.
The next one I got was honestly the scariest to me, and I find it fitting that apathy is the most punishing path that I found. This time around, I didn't slay the princess. I didn't free her. I just left her. And by leaving the princess down the stairs and locking the door to avoid my responsibilities, I set myself down the path of the nightmare, and we meet the voice of the paranoid.
I'd say better luck next time, but we both know this is the end, don't we?
This princess is cruel. Her mere presence freezes our body over, and the voice of the paranoid has to manually make our heart and organs pump in order to even be near her, with her shattered mask and her anger towards us. Justified anger at leaving her to rot and just trying to run away.
Lungs, liver, nerves, heart, lungs, liver, nerves. The princess leans forward, bringing her masked lips close to your ear.
If I want to see you gone, all I need to do is break your concentration.
Heart, lungs, liver, nerves. She slowly runs her velvet glove across the base of your neck. It feels like static. And then... Shit, make her stop. Hey, snap out of it. Okay, deep breath. Deep breath, we're fine. Heart, lungs, your back. Lungs, liver, nerves, heart.
One moment,
lungs,
and then you're
nerves,
gone.
heart,
Just
liver,
like
nerves,
that.
heart, lungs,
Ah,
liver,
and
nerves,
there's the
heart,
fear.
lungs, liver.
This nightmare princess literally scares us to death just by getting close, and sends us to something I didn't even know existed at this point. A third chapter, a fourth, many chapters, the moment of clarity. The forest is no longer a forest, the cabin is no longer a cabin, and here all of our voices join us, a constant cacophony of conflicting inner monologues. Our mind seemingly as shattered as the mask this princess wears on her face. This isn't a third chapter, this is a 3000th chapter, or a chapter beyond even that. All of these voices are here in our head because the nightmare princess finds us and breaks us no matter what choices we try and make. She tracks us down without fail in every reality we try to create and breaks us. And at this point that we are taking over, this has happened an indescribable amount of times. Even the narrator is confused here, and where the cabin once was, the princess emerges from the ground, saying over and over that all she wants is to be let out. To break the cycle, I listen and I let her out.
You extend your hand to hers. For all her past cruelties, the moment feels gentle, tender even. I can't believe you just made me say that. I hate you. The motion is difficult at first, as if something still resists your efforts. But then that resistance gives way, and it's over.
And that's the end. I wonder what we're going to do next.
I didn't think I'd be so tired. Why is it so cold?
Again, as it always seems to happen, even with a seemingly unending cycle of torture, all for the sake of one perspective. This nightmare princess, the second she gets out, doesn't know what to do with herself and simply leaves, whisked away with the many hands. The mirror appears, the narrator disappears, and all of the conflicting voices in our head encourage us and say goodbye as we face what the mirror holds. What it always holds. Us. But this time, we've unraveled. In the long quiet, once again, the Princess of Many Arms reveals to us that we only need one more perspective.
One. Whatever you bring me next will be enough, and then gravity will pull the others back to me. I will be singular. A final multitude.
She even lets us take a break here, waiting with her if we want, and it closes our game, like it shuts the executable down and lets us literally take a break. I took her up on this offer too, because I was playing in the morning before work and came back an entire day later to finish everything up. Reopening the game, fuck a menu, she's there, waiting for us.
I see you have returned to me. Days mean nothing in the maw of forever. I never left your side.
It's time for us to face the music and collect one last perspective.
The next time I see you, each of us will finally know what we are. I will be here, waiting for you.
I'm going to skip by this one, mostly because the perspective we collect here was a quick and simple one. I would like to share, though, that I got the Demon Muscle Mommy path here, which if you know me, you know I was very excited about, even if she did, want to kill me. That's besides the point, though.
Well, what are you waiting for? If we're gonna do this right, you can't be scared. You need to want this as much as I do.
Oh my god.
At the end of this path, she is collected by the hands, and once again we face the mirror. Only this time, it isn't us that's staring back.
I think you know what I am.
The mirror shatters, and every question we ask the narrator here erases a piece of the mirror as he reveals to us the truth. The long quiet, the place we return to after each perspective, isn't a place, but ourselves. We are the long quiet, and guided by the narrator, we've been put through constructs in which he has been training us to slay the princess. The princess is also a god, and in herself she holds the ability to die. The narrator saw the end of the world, and horrified by what he saw, all the death and suffering, he created the both of us, two halves of a whole, the long quiet and the shifting mound. As he disappears, seemingly accepting of his existence ceasing, he requests one final time that we do what he's always asked us to do. He wants us to eradicate the ability to die, and in turn, by asking us this, he wants us to slay the princess.
I've said my piece, and my time is up. I'm just an echo, and every echo fades away. You know what you have to do.
We know what we are, and all the perspectives have returned to the shifting mound, so as we approach her and face her, let's talk about this a bit. The narrator to me is the fear of death personified. Maybe I just think about life and death a little too much for someone that's 25, but death doesn't really scare me personally. What comes after does a little bit, but that scares everyone, and anyone who says otherwise either hasn't thought about it enough or they're just lying. The shifting mound asks of us to destroy this construct and open ourselves up together to experience the things beyond the walls the narrator put up. This universe will cease to exist, but so do all universes eventually, and by joining her, refusing to slay the princess, we would together move across all of these universes, seeing the rise and fall of worlds aplenty. Betraying the narrator's final wish at this point here was a no-brainer to me. Unknowingly using the explore options for dialogue, I almost set us down the path of conflict, where the shifting mound would use the perspectives that we had collected to try and convince us of her perspective. I chose to give up the fight with the princesses, though. She didn't need to convince me of her side at all. Despite her faults, I'm 100% on her side. With the absence of death, life is meaningless, at least for us meager humans. Our bodies aren't meant to last that long. Our relationships last even less, but thanks to the brevity of our experience, we can find joy and happiness in the experience, rather than wallowing in unending sadness in the reality that nothing lasts forever. It's not meant to, and that's okay. What the narrator wanted us to do is just evil to me. It would extend existence for all things, but all things aren't supposed to exist endlessly. At this point, we aren't people anymore, no longer the hero and the princess, which were merely vessels for our current selves, but we are the long quiet and the shifting mound. Gods. Two halves of the same whole. And she hasn't lied to us yet. More or less the only character that didn't lie to us in some way, actually. And in the wake of the unexplored, hand in hand, witnessing the destruction of all that we knew, and the inception of something else entirely, infinite somethings, there isn't a shred of doubt in my mind when the mound tells us they love us.
I love you. It's magnificent. Everything, just like it always has been, and just like it always will be.
Oddly enough, as the credits rolled and the game brought me back to the main menu, I didn't feel the need to explore anymore. I didn't feel the need to find the other realities and stories and perspectives, as entertaining as they may be, narratively to me, to the voice of the player. Closing the game and ending the experience there feels like not only the right choice, but the only choice. That world that we were in isn't there anymore. The walls are gone, and the beings that we came to know are off in endless space, enjoying that finally they don't feel quite so cold and alone as they once did. Thanks for watching. This is the part of the video where I really quickly tell you a bit about myself in the hopes that this is not the last that you hear of me. I really enjoy making these video essays, but I also try to do funnier or more topical videos and reviews, all of which are somehow rooted in video games. And I'd really appreciate if you could show support on the video by liking and commenting and then subscribing so you can see what I make in the future. I also stream over on Twitch, and the names scrolling by on your screen now are all the people who currently hold recurring subscriptions to me over there, which gives me a good excuse to spend more time than I probably should outside of my day job streaming and making videos like this one. Drop me a follow over there if you can. The more both platforms grow, the easier it is for me to justify working even harder on them. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this fucking crazy game? What ending did you get, and what perspectives did you collect? Let me know in the comments below, and again, genuinely, thanks for watching.